Welcome to this session on tracking finances. Implementing a method for keeping track of all of the income and the expenses of your business will help you build a stronger company and grow your business. There are two things. While there's all kinds of software you can use, there are, if you have a computer, you can use a spreadsheet to track your finances. You can use applications that do that. If you can do that, if you can use something like QuickBooks or something that's equivalent to QuickBooks, I strongly recommend it. If you don't have a computer, don't have access to it, don't worry about it. There are simple ways, and many successful businesses operate on paper-based tracking systems. So I'm going to describe what you need here at a minimum, and then just know that you can use it in a computer spreadsheet. You can use it in a software application that makes all of it easier. But the important part is having the discipline of tracking your finances. And so there are two things that you want to do. We're going to call the first one a daily journal. And the second one we're going to call a monthly summary. And so your daily journal, what you want to do is just simply write down every financial transaction that happens. And some businesses are small. You may have no financial, transactions that you have to record in some days. Or other businesses, you may have hundreds. And so it just depends on the nature of your business. But basically, if this is Monday, and it's, January 10th, 20 whatever, you just simply track, and you put a description, and you say, is it revenue, or income, or an expense? And so you write it down, and you put, what it was. That was revenue. You write this down. You had an expense of 100. You write it down. You had 100 over here. You write it down, and you say 200 here. The other thing that's very helpful, and at the end of the day, basically you total it up, and you say, okay, my expenses were 300, and my revenue was 300, so I broke even today. The other thing is creating categories of expenses. And so, real simple method, some categories that you might consider, and you can have as many as you want or as simple as you want. But one is going to be materials. Those materials could be, if you're selling rice, it might be the rice that you buy. If you're building houses, it might be the bricks and the wood. If you're providing some kind of service, it might be the supplies that you use to deliver that service. If you're cleaning windows, it's the sponges and the buckets and all that type of thing. So materials would be one, labor would be another. It's the money that you're spending on people, on your employees that are getting the job done. Maybe you have rent for your building or something like that, and then there are all kinds of other things. You might have utilities, you might have office supplies, you might have whatever. But create a few categories that are meaningful to you, and that it's not so many that it becomes too difficult for you to manage. And then you can just have a column in here that says category, and you say, okay, well, this was material. Actually, that was revenue. So this was for material that I spent $100 on material, and I spent $200 on labor. And so then you can just summarize at the bottom. You have all your categories: material, labor, rent, and other. And so then you just summarize each of those, and so that okay, this is the expense that I have on it. Each one of those categories, 100 there. I had labor and 200 today. I had 0 in rent. Didn't have to pay any other expenses. And so off you go. Now what you do is every day you just do this. You just fill it in real quick, boom, put it in those columns. You're done. Summarize at the end of the day, and then you go to your monthly statement. And this is January. And so January, you're just going to have a number for each of the days: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 30 or 31 days, and you're going to have revenue, and you're going to have materials, and you have labor and rent and other, and be able to track it. And so every day you go in, and this was January 10th right here. And so January 10th, I had revenue of 300. So 300. I had material of 100. I had labor of 200. And I had 0 in rent and 0 in other. And so you go through that whole thing and then total it out at the bottom. And these are all just columns. Very simple. You can do this on a sheet of paper and just keep track of it. If you got a spreadsheet, it makes it a lot easier. If you got an accounting system, it's even easier. But that's it. You're just recording all your numbers. I had 100 in revenue here. I had 400 big day here. No material here. Had a lot of labor here. Finally on the 5th, I had to pay rent for 500. I had this other expense on, the 17th. I had this other expense of 200. And then I total it all up at the bottom. So then I can look at my whole month. So I can look at a day and say, okay, today, but sometimes a day doesn't really tell you a very good story. Then I can look at a month and say, okay, this month my total revenue was whatever, 1,000 here, and I had a total materials of 400, and I had total labor of 500, and I had 200 in other and 500 in rent. And so I realized, all of my expenses, 400, 500, 900, 14, 1,600 in total expenses, and 1,000 in total revenue. I lost 600. And so this allows you to see what's happening in your business. So if you just come up with a system where you can track daily journal, just description of what it was, what category is it? Was it revenue or an expense? Summarize it at the bottom, and then put each day, your revenue, material, labor, rent, other categories, and then you can see a whole month. If you implement this approach to tracking your finances, if you do nothing else, if you don't even use a computer, if you do nothing else, being able to look at this and having the discipline to track it and then monitor it, look at it once a month, at the end of every month, look at the month and say, okay, what happened? Is there anything I need to change in next month? Do I need to back off on some of my labor? Is there something I can do to increase revenue? My material cost seems like it was okay. Other expenses, I'm going to try to watch not getting other expenses. My rent, there's nothing I can really do about that. Or maybe I could go negotiate and see if I'll sign a 2-year lease, could he reduce my rent to $450, whatever it may be. But it allows you to see your business at a snapshot, and then you can do the same thing, and you can make an annual summary that just basically takes the bottom line of every month and does the same thing, and you look at a whole year and say, okay, how did I do this year? So these are the keys to tracking finances. Implement this discipline from day one so that you're on the right track and you know where your business stands, and you'll do a lot better. Just trust me on that. Good luck.